Hey everybody, what's up? It's Hubalubalu back with another video, and this time a Nintendo Switch game review for PHANTARUK. It is a survival horror escape stealthy kind of game, but it is a little bit slow. And thanks to the guys down at the new Odyssey.ga for giving me a code to review this game for you guys. I always appreciate it. So now the storyline of this game is you start off as a clone waking up on this ship called the Purity 02. Now it is a ship belonging to the H Plus Corporation who like doing experiments to have human trials to figure out what's better than the human body. So something that is exemplary past the human form. And obviously being in space, they have future medical technology and stuff like that, so the advancements are going to go a little bit wrong. So as the storyline builds up, you figure out that you're the only person there on the ship and your whole objective is to escape. Now you find out there are a couple monsters out there, so these are the ones you're going to have to stay away from. Now the whole control of this game is you only have to crouch, lean left, lean right, you can sprint, you can look at your arms, one telling you the actual toxicity level that you have to keep down by using needles around the ship, but they'll be glowing, so they'll be really easy to find. Now, not only does this needle keep down the toxicity level, it actually gives you the ability for a small amount of time to actually see where the monsters are. I don't know if it actually does for the human ones, because I never really needed it during the game, but it does for the bigger ones, and it actually is quite helpful if you are in those tight situations. And then it also tells you your heartbeat monitor, which also affects how the monsters hear you when you're close to them. You have all your objectives, all the time cards you picked up, all the messages around the ship that you've seen and stuff like that, so you can piece together the storyline that they're trying to put out for you. You also have a flashlight that you can use to help you search and navigate around. I'm going to say this once to everybody really quickly, this game is super dark, so be aware that if you're trying to play outside, it's not going to really help because there is no LCD screen in the Nintendo Switch, so it is super hard to see with sunlight. Even indoors, so you have to turn on your flashlight. This is a very dark game. So you're probably wondering what PHANTARUK actually is. It is actually a deity religion that was built up from other religions because this is the future. So that actually had a big influence on what they were trying to do with the human body, the H Plus Corporation. If you've played horror survival games, you always know that there's that antagonist that always tries to advance the human body or try to be better than what they actually are right now. So now I'm going to get into the stuff that I noticed about this game that I didn't really like. In the beginning, I love how the story plays out. It's very mysterious, you don't really know what's happening, but then progressing through the game, you actually kind of tend to see that it slows down a little bit. And on top of slowing down a little bit, it also was a little bit repetitive, going to the same objectives and the same missions, like collecting a key card or finding the number to get through another door or picking up an arm or a head or something like that, which is actually pretty funny. To get through a scanned door because of their eyes or their handprints. But it was kind of the same thing back and forth. It was go through a door, oh no, you can't get through here, so you gotta look around for another thing to get through another thing. It was kind of a little bit repetitive after a while. And for the enemies, there were only two actually. I only found one, the big walking monster you see at the beginning of the game, who was just really hard to stay away from if you got seen. So if you were ever seen, I'm pretty sure you would die 99% of the time. Other than that, like, unless you like clipped him, or I think I actually went in a little, what do you call it, a ventilation system, and he just couldn't crouch or get in or swipe, or they didn't set up any programming for that, so he just stood there and then walked away, which just is another proof of just how smart these AI were. And then maybe halfway through the game, you start seeing these human-type zombies. The human zombies actually snapped into place one time. I wasn't recording during the time, but they're actually not as smart as the big guys. But still, it's one of those things where you think they could have added a little bit more than just these like monotonous monsters doing the same programming path over and over and over. Which you find out eventually, like, they were bitten from other human bodies. The storyline's so long, and I put it down for a little bit. It kind of was just a little jumbled, but you really have to closely follow it. I don't know why the human zombies were there. They didn't turn into bigger zombies. Maybe it was just because he was the patient zero or something like that. But I think there were more than one big zombie. I don't know. The storyline, there's a lot of talking. I have to say that. Now, the way you get spotted in this game from the certain monsters is the amount of lighting that is around you, near you, or the flashlight that you're using. You can tell by the tiny eye in the bottom left corner, it gets brighter and brighter the more you are apparent to those monsters. and sometimes like they just know you're around for some reason. They just start randomly attacking you. It could be because of the light, but at the same time, I think the AI on these monsters wasn't really the smartest in the world. So that eyeball is really the one thing that you have to make sure that you never see, because if you don't see that, then this game is going to be a pretty easy run for you. Probably the last thing I'm going to go over for the whole game is the map layout. The map layout's actually really cool. As you can see here, I'll do a little pan shot. It's a really nice layout. It's so big, but there's nothing really there. Like, you might find a couple of like random pieces of paper or notes that they left behind, but they're really just nothing there for anything. Like, if anything, it makes the loading times even a little bit longer, which they were a little bit long in this one. I mean, it was cool looking, everything was designed like really nicely, but there was just nothing for it. You just kept like walking around. There weren't many jump scares actually, so if you're scared about that, don't worry about it. There's maybe like one or two, and if anything, it's like a pipe bursting and like some random spider coming out that doesn't even attack you. There wasn't much music either. There was more of the monotonous tones and very big shrills that the monster would attack you during or something like that. It just wasn't really needed, so you can't really grade it on that itself. But the big thing I would say about this game is I love the sound acting in it.
Purity 02 on course, set to arrive on schedule. We'll soon pass the target star. I'd give anything for Ignatia to be here with me. It's been 9 years. In our world of advanced technology, I never expected that smallpox would become lethal again. Nobody did. 3 billion people. PHANTARUK. A deity pieced together from the scrap heap of discarded religions.
Every time you'd come to like a new phase in the game, especially during the beginning, you'd hear this guy talk, and I'll list his name if I get it, but his voice is just so good and he does it so well where you're just so engulfed into the story where you want to learn more. So that's what they did great. I love the guy leading off in the story. I just wish the gameplay was as well as the story was read to you. And then you kind of want to figure out what happens, but you eventually know it if you know zombie like scenarios or something like that. Someone gets bitten, it's all toxicity, blah 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 blah. Blah blah. The last final mechanics I wanted to talk about were the monster mechanics and how every time you would be spotted, you would probably die because the only way to get by would be to hide in the vent like I showed you before, or to run through a door and it closes fast enough, even though the doors aren't fast enough to open, where you just run out of sprint and then die. That's a big one too. I don't know why you only run for like down the hall and you're just tired and winded. It's just a very short sprinting time. Overall, I thought the game was alright. It wasn't the greatest, but it is only $4.99, so it's a $5 game. I did run through it pretty fast. It is pretty easy if you don't like want to search around everywhere. Other than that, I think it took me about a couple hours, maybe two and a half. Depends. I put it down and put it back on, which wasn't the smart thing to do because the storyline runs pretty well together, so you probably forget most of it. The game was alright. If you like survival horror games, it's only $5, and it's alright. I mean, whatever. If you don't like survival horrors, I would say stay away. Not the greatest pickup. Spend $5 on something else. There's a lot of other games in the eShop. So overall, if I had to give it a rating, I'd give it maybe like a 5 to 5.5. Not even that. That's stretching it out. That's because I just didn't like horror games, I guess. I'm giving it a little bit more. I just wasn't as enthusiastic as I thought I would be. Well guys, that was my review for PHANTARUK on the Nintendo Switch. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, comment down below if you also played the game. Tell me how you liked it, if you didn't like it or not. Tell me what I missed or didn't miss. I really appreciate the communication back and forth because I always like getting these videos as clean as possible. But thanks for watching. Instagram and Twitter are at Hubalubalu. Have a good one.